appreciate it. I'm thrilled to be with a very important man in Guatemala, the Minister Enrique Degenhardt. We are doing a very important signing. It's a historic asylum or safe third agreement between our two countries. It's a very important event. We've long been working with Guatemala, and now we can do it the right way. It's going to be terrific for them and terrific for the United States. This landmark agreement will put the coyotes and the smugglers out of business. These are bad people. These are very, very bad, sick, deranged people who make a lot of money off other people's miseries. It's going to provide safety for legitimate asylum seekers and stop asylum fraud and abuses system. There's also transformative in the step it will take and the many, many, many steps it will take towards security, safety for Guatemala, and signifies the incredible bright future for their country. This agreement will usher in a new era of investment and growth for their nation and sets the stage for cooperation between our countries and expanding access to the H-2A visa, which is your agricultural workers and farm workers. We're going to have them coming into our country in a easier fashion than even before. It's very important for our business, for our farms, for our ranches, and we are going to make that a very, very much easier, less cumbersome program, and further bilateral investment will take place. But the H-2A is really going to be streamlined, and all of those workers that come in, we want them to continue to come in. As you know, we have a very low rate of unemployment, record-setting. We're at about 3.5, maybe 3.6. I hear it's going down. Probably will, because the country's doing tremendous business. Had another record stock market. Today we're sending a clear message to human smugglers and traffickers that your day is over, and we're investing in the future of Guatemala. The safety of migrants and their families will protect the rights of those with legitimate claims and will end the widespread abuse of the system and the crippling crisis on our border. I want to thank Mexico. As you know, Enrique, the Mexican government, the president of Mexico, has now 21,000 troops on our double borders, on their border. By you, they have about 6,000, and on our southern border, they have getting close to 20,000 by itself. It's going to probably be about 26,000 people, totally soldiers, and very good ones. It's had a tremendous impact, really an incredible impact. So, Kevin, if you look at what's happened over the last short period of time, it's really been great. Now, if the Democrats would sign something, it would be a lot easier, but we have to do it around the Democrats because they refuse to want to close up the borders. They want open borders. That means smugglers, it means hijackers, it means drugs, it means crime. It's frankly a disgrace, but with Guatemala, with Mexico, and with other countries that will be signing safe third agreements very shortly, we're doing really well. I want to thank, if I might, Enrique, the president of Guatemala, President Morales. Please give him my regards, and thank you very much. He's a terrific guy. We like him very much, and we've worked together really, really well. So if you two gentlemen would sit down, Kevin and Enrique, and you'll sign. I'll stand right behind you. This way I'll confirm it. Okay. So that's a very big thing. It's a very important signature. Never been done before. Thank you very much, Enrique. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
At your service, sir. I will, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you all very much.
Mr. President, what was the breakthrough that led to this? What was the breakthrough that led to this?
Look, we've been dealing for many years, I would say, with Guatemala and with other countries, and we are now at a point where we just get along, and they're doing what we've asked them to do, and I think it's going to be a great thing for Guatemala. They don't want these problems either. So we were able to get this done, and we got it done fairly quickly. But this is after many, many years. Mexico also is working along with us very nicely. I mean, tremendously, actually. You'll see a chart where the numbers are really through the floor, I should say, because they're going down. Kevin, maybe you want to speak to the numbers, how well we're doing in terms of apprehensions?
Absolutely, Mr. President. Since the agreement was signed with Mexico that you energized and drove, we've had 28% reduction in June, and we're headed toward another 22% reduction in July in crossing. So 43% overall, thanks to the effort on the government of Mexico's side and the implementation of our migrant protection protocols border-wide.
And the fact that they do have really a big slowdown coming in from Guatemala at the border, because we have, again, 6,000 Mexican troops at the border of Guatemala, so that helps. But this will really help. This is something that's going to be rather incredible. So the numbers are going down. We could really do this in a much easier fashion if we had cooperation from the Democrats. We have absolutely no cooperation. Nobody can understand. And most of these people, 5 years ago, they all wanted a wall, and we're building a lot of wall right now, a lot of it. We've ripped down old wall, and we've ripped down wall that didn't even exist. It had bad footings, bad foundations. There used to be a wall there wasn't. It was gobbled up by the people that crossed. And we're building beautiful new wall, a lot of it. And it's getting built rapidly. So a lot of things are happening, but this is a very big day. John?
Mr. President, the big focus of the Democrats today was to say that they are going to continue and expand their investigations. They're looking for the grand jury testimony behind the Mueller report. They want to try to enforce the subpoena against Don McGahn. What do you say?
I think it's a disgrace what the Democrats are doing. It's so sad to see how they're impeding all of the good things that we're doing. Like, as an example, today it's the border, and we're strengthening up our border with a great country, and we have other great countries that are going to be signing on also. And we're doing this all because the Democrats won't give us what we need. So simple: get rid of the loopholes, work on asylum. It would take a very short period of time. They won't do it. All they want to do is impede. They want to investigate. They want to go fishing. And I watch Bob Mueller, and they have nothing. There's no collusion. There's no obstruction. They have nothing. It's a disgrace. We want to find out what happened with the last Democrat president. Let's look into Obama the way they've looked at me from day one. They've looked into everything that we've done. They could look into the book deal that President Obama made. Let's subpoena all of his records. Let's subpoena all of the records having to do with Hillary Clinton and all of the nonsense that went on with Clinton and her foundation and everything else. We could do that all day long. Frankly, the Republicans were gentlemen and women. When we had the majority in the House, they didn't do subpoenas all day long. They didn't do what these people have done. What they're doing is a disgrace, so destructive to our country. And I think that's why we're going to take back the House. That's why we're easily going to hold the presidency, and we're going to continue to hold the Senate. And, you know, people don't say, but we picked up 2 seats in the Senate. We went from 51 to 53 in the 18 election. Nobody says it. They talk about the House. And I didn't get to campaign very much for the House. I couldn't because we were campaigning for the Senate. We almost picked up 5 seats. You know that very well. So it's a disgrace that they're doing it. They're doing it for political reasons. And most of them, many of them are admitting that. It's politics. And frankly, it's a very sad thing for our country. Yes?
What are you thinking now about sanctions on Turkey? You had that meeting with the Republican senators the other night.
Well, we're looking at the whole Turkey situation. You know, they've ordered 125 F-35 fighter jets, billions and billions of dollars. They paid some of it. The planes are being made. They're easily sold to other nations because they're the greatest fighter jet in the world. And we have a backlog of orders, but it's a tough situation. They're getting the S-400, and our statutes and everything else says you do that. You just can't order this equipment, and generally speaking, you can't order equipment, period. I don't blame Turkey because there are a lot of circumstances and a lot of problems that occurred during the Obama administration. This dates back to the Obama administration, which was a disaster, okay? Yes, John.
Can we come back to Guatemala, sir?
Please.
Earlier this week, it looked like things were not going in the right direction. You were even threatening tariffs against Guatemala. What turned around in the last couple of days?
Well, I think I'd ask maybe Kevin and Ricky to answer. Relationship's been very good.
We stayed at the table. We've been working on it throughout. Enrique's demonstrated a tremendous commitment, the Minister of Government for Guatemala, helping lead the region to take responsibility for migration flows, to work together with the United States on how we can take the power away from the criminal organizations that are exploiting these vulnerable migrants. And we stayed with it and got over the line.
I would say that Guatemala is definitely clear on the responsibility that it has. We are clear that we have to make changes. And the way to do it is working together with our best ally. That's what we're showing here today, and we are definitely committed to continue doing and improving what we have.
Your court said that this was not possible to do. How did you get around that?
No, they didn't say that.
Well, I thought that it looked like the courts were saying that you could not sign an asylum agreement with the United States.
So what the court said, which is a provisional injunction, was basically define the process that had to be followed. As Secretary McAleenan mentioned a little while ago, define how to do that procedure, and we are going to implement it.
Okay?
Can you explain how this will work? If someone leaves Guatemala and walks
Yes.
from Mexico into the U.S., what happens?
Yes.
Are they turned
A
around?
lot of good things happen. Go ahead, Kevin.
So this is a return to the appropriate approach under international law to protecting asylum seekers at the earliest possible point in their journey. If you have a Honduran family or an El Salvadoran national, instead of having them pay a smuggler, come all the way to our border to seek asylum, when they arrive in Guatemala, they're in a country that has a fair proceeding for assessing asylum claims, and that's where they should make that claim. That returns that understanding under international law.
Does
So
the claim stay in Guatemala or claim to the U.S.?
they can make a protection claim if they would like in Guatemala. So if they arrive in the U.S. not having availed themselves of that opportunity, they'll be returned to Guatemala.
And that's a claim to stay in Guatemala.
It's a claim for protection under international law for asylum.
Which we've never had before, and which is something that's so good. Good for everybody, but it's so good.
Are tariffs off the table now, sir?
Sign more agreements soon, and who with?
Well, we have a great agreement with Mexico, but we're going to probably do some additional work on it because we can't get anything from the Democrats. Dealing with Mexico is really what Mexico's doing for us at the border is far greater than what the Democrats have done. You know, the amazing thing about the Democrats, it was all fine. Everything was great 4 or 5 years ago before I was president. And now they think we're going to win, so they're doing everything they can with the impeachment nonsense, where you had no obstruction, you had no collusion. You know, obstruction's sort of interesting. They've interviewed 500 people. They've interviewed lawyers. They've interviewed everybody that they wanted to interview. People that I could have kept back by using presidential privilege. I could have kept back everybody. They didn't have to interview anybody. I gave them total, and then they say obstruction. These people are clowns. The Democrats are clowns. They're being laughed at all over the world. And I watched this morning, I watched Nancy Pelosi trying to get through that with the performance that Robert Mueller put on, where I don't think he ever read the agreement or the document. And the document said no collusion. They don't even talk about that, so there was no crime. They said, well, there was no crime, but he obstructed. How do you obstruct? There's no crime. But actually it was worse than that because it was a phony crime that they put on. The crime was what they put on. But I watched Mueller. For 2.5 years we've watched this. And that's the best they have. And it's a disgrace. And the world is laughing at him. And unfortunately, it's so bad for our country. It's bad in our relationships with other countries, including Russia. There's no reason we shouldn't get along with Russia. There's no reason we shouldn't get along with other countries. And one of the things that's nice about Guatemala is we've never had a better relationship. Right now, they've agreed to do something that's very good for the United States. And we're going to work with them also. It's going to be a partnership. And it's happening with Mexico too. We never had any kind of cooperation with Mexico ever until this president, frankly, and my presidency, where you have maybe 21,000, could be 26,000 soldiers. And it's so good for Mexico because they're getting rid of the cartels, which everybody knows they've been running big portions of Mexico, and the coyotes and all of these terrible people. Mexico's done a great job for their people. The president has done a great job for his people. And President Morales has done a great job by doing this, because now he has a friend in the United States instead of an enemy of the United States. Well, yes, John.
Mr. President, are you going to slap tariffs on French wine?
I might. So France put on a tax on our companies, you know that, and wrong thing to do. They should not have done it. So I may do that. I've always liked American wines better than French wines, even though I don't drink wine. I just like the way they look, okay? But the American wines are great. American wines are great, and they didn't do the right thing. When they start taxing our companies, we tax our companies. They don't tax our companies. So France did that. I told him, I said, don't do it, because if you do it, I'm going to tax your wine, meaning tariff or tax, quarter, whatever you want. So yeah, we're working on that right now.
You were critical of Macron. You were critical of Macron's decision to do this. How is that relationship between you and Macron?
Good. I just spoke to him. No, I just spoke to him. I have a good relationship with President Macron, but they shouldn't have done this. They used to take an advantage of the United States, but not with me as president. Look, I look at deals that were done with other presidents in this country, and it's a disgrace that our country's allowed this to happen. Where China, for years and years and years, was making from $300 billion to $507 billion a year, okay? Now we're taking in billions of dollars from China, and it's all turning around. Whether a deal is made, you know, they're going next week, they have more meetings, meeting after meeting. I don't think personally China would sign a deal. If I had a 2% chance of losing the election, I think China would probably say, let's wait. Let's wait. Maybe Trump will lose and we can deal with another dope or another stiff, like the people that allowed these deals to happen, this horrible thing to happen to our country. Because what's happened to our country, the money that China has taken out of the United States has rebuilt China. And I don't blame China. I blame the United States for allowing that to happen. So if I'm President Xi, or if I'm frankly Iran, and Iran wants to make a deal, I can tell you that right now. But if I'm Iran, I'll probably say, man, if I can hold out, I'm going to wait for Sleepy Joe Biden instead of Trump. Because Sleepy Joe, we can make any deal we want with him. He doesn't know what's happening. So what else?
Back to the tariffs on French wine. When?
We'll be announcing it sometime fairly soon. We'll see what happens. But they put a tax on. We said, don't do it. We tax our companies. You don't tax our companies. And we'll be announcing something. It might be a wine. It might be on something else. But it's called reciprocal. It's a reciprocal tax. And we'll be announcing that fairly soon, John. Makes sense, John. Do you agree with that? You're a man that enjoys wine. You just won't enjoy French wine anymore. Go ahead, Steve.
I will agree that American wines are very, very good.
They are great.
I think Mnuchin and Lighthizer are going to Shanghai next week for
They will be going.
You don't sound optimistic.
No, I'm never, look. I think that China will probably say, let's wait. It's 14, 15 months till the election. Let's see if one of these people that give the United States away, let's see if one of them could possibly get elected. And I'll tell you what, when I win, like almost immediately, they're all going to sign deals, and they're going to be phenomenal deals for the country. But so I don't know that they're going to. I don't know if they're going to make a deal. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. I don't care, because we're taking in tens of billions of dollars worth of tariffs, and the farmers are happy because I gave them $16 billion out of the tariffs and had tremendous. Much more than that left over, as you know. Tremendous amount of money left over, like by 3 times. And we haven't even taxed China yet compared to what I could do. So we have tens of billions of dollars rolling in from China. We never had 10 cents coming in. And again, I don't blame President Xi. I blame our past leaders for allowing it to happen for so many years with the World Trade Organization. China was totally flatlined. And when the World Trade Organization came about and China joined the World Trade, they became a rocket ship. Because, you know, it's a very unfair situation that took place at the World Trade Organization, as are many of them. So they're going to go, and we'll talk, we'll see. I don't personally care that much because we're getting billions and billions. Remember this, the people aren't paying for it. Everyone says people pay for it. China's devalued their currency, and they're putting money in, they're pumping money into their society, into their country, like you wouldn't believe. You call it quantitative easing. With us, we have a Fed that does quantitative tightening and they raise interest rates. So we have a normalized rate. President Obama had no rates and he had no tightening. And we still have a much better economy than in his wildest dreams. So, and there is something okay about that, but look, the Fed acted too soon. I turned out to be right. They acted too soon and too violently. We've had 9 increases. I believe, you'll check that, but I believe it's 9 increases. A couple under her and a lot under Powell. I'm not a fan. Okay, what else?
On the dollar, sir, the U.S. dollar, are you too high, too low, just
Well,
right?
the dollar is very strong. The country is very strong. The dollar is it's a beautiful thing in one way, but it makes it harder to compete. And despite that, but we have a very powerful dollar, so that's the good news. Despite that, we're doing really well. The country's doing well. It's really become, more than ever before, the currency of choice. You know, you have the euro that tried to cut in. Well, the euro is now not doing so well. Europe is not doing so well. China is not doing very well. You look at other countries, we're the hottest economic country in the world. There's nobody close. Even Guatemala wants to do business with us now, so we're happy.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Thank you, sir.
Have you ruled out any measures?
On the dollar valuation, why did you not consider a proposal that was floated on Tuesday here in the
I could do that in 2 seconds if I want. I mean,
Why did you not want to entertain it?
well, I didn't say I'm not going to do something, but you know, look, having a strong dollar, there's a reason that it sounds so good. And having a strong dollar is having a strong dollar. We have an amazing country, we have a very strong country. That's why our country has a strong currency. Other countries have a currency that's down the tubes. It's a currency that's weak. China's currency is very low. You look at other countries, look at the euro is so low. I mean, Germany's paying almost no interest. We're paying 2.1%. We're paying a lot of interest. That's because we have a strong currency. It's a very complicated formula for some people. It's not complicated for me. The Federal Reserve raised the rates too fast and too soon, and they shouldn't have done quantitative tightening, which they did. If they didn't do that, we would be at 4.5% instead of 2.1. Everybody's so thrilled with 2.1. We could have had it much more, except for the Federal Reserve. And we could have been 5,000 to 10,000 points higher in the Dow. Now, I don't want to sound too upset about it, because we just broke the all-time record in the history of our country on the Dow. But we could have been higher, right? Could have been a contender. Could have been higher, as Marlon would say. Marlon Brando, the great Marlon Brando. Yes,
Are
Steve.
you okay with North Korea firing off these short-range missiles?
Well, you said it. They're short-range missiles, and my relationship is very good with Chairman Kim, and we'll see what happens, but they are short-range missiles, and many people have those missiles.
You don't sound too spun up about it.
Nope, not at all.
They're describing those short range as a warning, and the short range is short range for the United States, but not short
Well,
range for our allies.
he didn't say a warning to the United States. I can tell you that. He didn't say a warning to the United States. But they have their disputes. The two of them have their disputes. They've had them for a long time. But he didn't say that. But they are short-range missiles and very standard missiles.
Mr. President, have you spoken with Boris Johnson
Yes,
yet? And
very
what
good
did he
question. It's the best question you've ever asked.
I asked him the other day.
Well, you know why your timing is good? Because I spoke to him about, how long have you been here? 16 minutes? I spoke to him 17 minutes ago. I hung up the phone as you're coming in. And he's a good guy. He's a friend of mine. I think we're going to have a great relationship. And Boris is going to be a great prime minister. I predict he will be a great prime minister. He has what it takes. They needed him for a long time. UK needed him for a long time. And let's see what happens. Yeah, he and I will spend a lot of, we just spent a lot of time when I was with the Queen in one of the great, most beautiful couple of days that I've ever experienced. She's a tremendous woman, incredible woman. We got along very well. So Boris and I just spoke. I congratulated him, and he's all set to go. He's going to be, I think he'll do a great job. We're working already on a trade agreement, and I think it'll be a very substantial trade agreement. You know, we can do, with the UK, we can do 3 to 4 times. We were actually impeded by their relationship with the European Union. We were very much impeded on trade, and I think we can do 3 to 4, 5 times what we're doing. We don't do the kind of trade we could do with what some people say is Great Britain, and some people remember a word you don't hear too much is the word England, which is a piece of it. But with the UK, we could do much, much more trade, and we expect to do that, okay?
President Apple, you just warned Apple about tariff. So
Apple.
Yeah, Apple. And they're saying they don't have a skilled labor in the US.
Well, I want Apple to build their plants in the United States. I don't want them to build them in China. So when I heard they're going to build in China, I said, no, it's okay, you can build in China, but when you send your product into the United States, we're going to tariff you. But we'll work it out. A man I have a lot of liking for and respect is Tim Cook, and we'll work it out. I think they're going to announce that they're going to build a plant in Texas. And if they do that, I'm starting to get very happy. Okay?
Mr. President, do you expect to get similar agreements like the one signed today with Honduras and El Salvador? And are you working on doing that?
I do. I do indeed.
Will you get them soon?
Pretty soon. I mean, we get quick agreements. So I just want to end up by saying that Guatemala has been really a pleasure to deal with, and we're going to have a great relationship for many years to come. And I'd like you, please, extend my warmest regards to the people of Guatemala.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
you, everybody. What?
Are you planning on working vacation in Bedminster?
By the way, Bedminster is not a vacation. I don't go to Manhattan because when I go to Manhattan, I stay at Trump Tower, and I have to close up the whole city of Manhattan. So I go to Bedminster, which is a beautiful place, but it's never a vacation. It's working.
Are you planning a trip to Bedminster over an extended period of time?
I hope not, because I like working. I'd rather be right here, but probably over a short period of time. A lot of times you go and they do a lot of work in the White House. For instance, the Obama administration worked out a brand new air conditioning system for the West Wing. And it was so good before they did the system. Now that they did the system, it's freezing or hot in here.
Can I rephrase my question?
Yes.
Will you be spending an extended period of time working in Bedminster during the month of August?
Not extended, but for a short period of time. Meaning like less than a week. But again, I do that just officially, just to put it on the record. I do that because when I go into Trump Tower, they close up 10 blocks around the building, and it's Manhattan, New York City. It's a big, I don't want to inconvenience